Hello and welcome to Magala Foresight, and this is Mikhail Mnasse, producer and host of the show. Ethiopia finds itself at a critical juncture in its history. It is in a crisis. With us today on Magala Foresight is Ambassador Seyoum Mesfin, Ethiopia's former foreign minister and a veteran diplomat. Ambassador Seyoum, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So we can start from the state of affairs of the country. Where do we stand as a country?
Well, we are at crossroads in a very testing moment. Time is testing on the leadership of the country. A lot of uncertainty to the Ethiopian people in general and to including those who think are in power. I don't think they know what they are doing and where they are going. So Ethiopia is really in a very, very difficult and sensitive situation.
You were a long-serving foreign minister during the EPRDF time. What are the fundamental principles in EPRDF's and Prosperity Party's foreign policy principles and objectives?
Well, let me first say it was a singular honor and a privilege to me to have been the longest serving foreign minister of my country for almost 20 years, serving my people, my country, and that honor was given to me by my party, EPRDF, the government of EPRDF. Secondly, coming to your question, definitely there are fundamental differences between running the foreign service in Ethiopia today and yesterday during the EPRDF time. The EPRDF had a clear roadmap and direction, strategies, tactics, and the policy on all state affairs. It's not only on foreign policy, but on development, on system building, institution building, on every sector. The EPRDF has got a clear strategy and policies. Coming to the foreign policy and foreign affairs and national security policy, it has clear objectives, fundamental principles based on the reality of the country and on the need of the country, on the need of the people. Today, the Prosperity Party or Abiy cannot say they have a foreign policy because the then existing foreign policy promulgated and approved during the EPRDF time, they no more are in use of that. They have a draft that has been running for 2 years, and it's just a generic. It has nothing. You just remove the country, the name Ethiopia, and it can serve to any country. It's a generic. Drafted by a number of scholars and practitioners, but ended up in eclectic that does not define the true needs of the country. And those practitioners now on the battlefront, those who are in the missions abroad and at the headquarters, I'm not so sure that they can say they have a clear roadmap what to do.
You said a number of scholars and practitioners were involved in drafting it. So how did it turn out to be?
From the diaspora, from our universities, from foreign ministry, it ended up in producing an eclectic and generic foreign policy that can serve any country. Just remove the name Ethiopia. If you put Djibouti, if you put it can serve anybody. This is a template. It is not a foreign policy for Ethiopia. Another fundamental area of the principle and objective here is today the former Prime Minister, I would call him the former Prime Minister because he has completed his term, and he illegitimately still thinks that he's ruling the country, but he's destroying the country, destroying the institutions. He feels that he is the embodiment of the foreign policy. It revolves around his personality, building his personal ego and building personality cult and fame at home and abroad. Abiy the reformer, Abiy the Nobel Prize winner, and what have you, and what have you, and what have you. The young dynamic leader and so on. So the foreign policy is revolving around him. I'm not talking about allegations. I would take you to what he gave his direct instructions to the ambassadors and senior diplomats annual conference they had from late August to early September 2020. They have been in a meeting for a couple of days in Bishoftu. At the conclusion, he invited them to his office. He spent a couple of hours where none of the diplomats even asked questions or gave their opinion on what he lectured on. So he talked for 2 hours, giving full instructions, and he told them, "You're just my envoys. You don't have to talk anything about policy and so on." He told them that their business is to execute what he instructs them to do. That's all. They don't have a foreign policy that is serving the country's interest, national interest, serving the desires and the needs of the people and so on. That is already thrown away, and now we're in chaos, including in the foreign service area.
So what is the Ministry of Foreign Affairs doing to advance Ethiopia's interests internationally if the foreign policy of the country is revolving around a person, his personality?
Well, that has been so, including during the previous defunct governments of the Derg and the emperors and monarchies and so on. It is a public secret that Abiy recites the prophecy of his late mother, that he would be the seventh emperor of Ethiopia. So the emperors are the embodiment of every policy of a government, of a country. So he's acting the same. And now different quarters have started to call him the Nobel Prize winner, authoritarian or dictator. So it's not only in the foreign policy area, it's in all the other policies which he thinks he has produced new policies for other sectors where we have failed to see the priorities of the country. Neither Abiy nor the government nor the people can understand what Ethiopia's priorities are today. Is it renovation of palaces, constructing of parks, leisure parks in Addis Ababa or in Entoto? We have over 30 million people living under poverty line. Money coming from abroad is squandered for the construction of these sorts of leisure areas. We may need them, yes, definitely, but they are not the priority of Ethiopia. Food first, butter and bread first for Ethiopia. I think that is a critical priority for Ethiopia, and we don't have a priority. Everything is messed up.
So recently, the Office of the Intergovernmental Relations of the Government of the Tigray region issued a statement criticizing his foreign policy objectives as being simply the international dimension of his strategy for personal power consolidation. It stated, some of his foreign policy behaviors rather border on treason. This is a very serious accusation. Do you share that view? And if so, what could this treasonous behavior be?
I do share. See how Abiy has been handling the issue of the Great Renaissance Dam since his coming to power. In less than a month after his usurping power, he traveled to Egypt, leading a high-level delegation from the government of Ethiopia. Then he was on the podium, standing with the Egyptian President al-Sisi and taking instructions of oaths, like a child in kindergarten, making oaths that he would not do anything that would jeopardize Egyptian interest without even knowing the language which he was being instructed to. That was shameful, truly shameful. Then he came back home and gave public statement saying that the guard was initiated for political consumption, that Ethiopia has no capacity to implement this and complete it in 10 years. He was open in public saying this. While late, very late, when he understood that he has jumped the gun, that this great Renaissance Dam of Ethiopia belongs to every Ethiopian citizen at home or abroad. It symbolizes the pride and the development of Ethiopia and Ethiopians. Even people begging on the streets of Addis wanted to show that they are part of it, want to believe that they are part of it, and contributing from what? Donations they got from philanthropists. Knowing this, what he did was definitely, he crossed the red line. That amount to treason. What he initiated in the issue of Renaissance Dam led including to the loss of life of the chief engineer, Seyoum. Then there was a clear policy and guidelines given to the execution, implementation of the dam, that negotiations can take place only on technical matters, on the sound engineering of the dam, that it is safe, that it is environmentally sound, and so on and so forth. There would not be any water sharing negotiation, because that will be dealt by a separate institution.
That is before coming to power of Dr. Abiy.
All the riparian countries would be going into the Nile Basin Commission, where they will negotiate for fair and equitable distribution of the Nile resource. But Abiy dismantled this. He went again to Russia, met the Egyptian president, and promised the Americans that he will take the forum for negotiations to Washington, D.C. That's what he did. And we know what transpired once they went and started negotiations in Washington. The Trump administration wanted Ethiopia to sign a draft agreement drafted by Egyptian experts. And that is screwed up. Abiy came back to sense later on, when more than 15 professionals and experts wrote him a letter openly telling him, if Ethiopia signs this agreement, it will be ceding its legitimate right on the Nile basin resource utilization. And that would amount be the Wichale Treaty, which was signed back in the 1889 between Italy and the government of Emperor Menelik. And he realized that he was in a quagmire, in a deep crisis. Then he made excuses. He made a scapegoat. He blamed the minister and his experts, his delegation, saying that he did not instruct them to sign agreements in DC. If he's not there for signing agreement, he didn't go for walking on park to Washington, DC. He went to sign agreement with Egypt. That's what they did. I could cite a number of important issues. What is IGAD today? IGAD is dismantled. Under whose influence and instruction? Under President Isaias of Eritrea. He doesn't recognize the existence of IGAD. He said to Abiy that Eritrea, Ethiopia, and Somalia are the proper horn and that they have to come together. That others would not help them to resolve these problems. So IGAD is not alive. We have the skeleton of IGAD in place. But IGAD was revitalized with the crucial role of Ethiopia, because IGAD is a vehicle for all of the countries of member states of IGAD, of the region, because it caters the collective interest of all of us in security, in development, in politics, in trade, in people to people, and cultural ties, and regional integration. After all, IGAD is a building block of the unity building effort of the African continent. That's what Abiy has done. They all amount to committing treason. And definitely he will be accountable. He will be accountable for his action. When time will come, definitely.
And this despite Abiy's claim that his standing in the Horn is improving, that Ethiopia's standing in the Horn is improving.
I wish your question was answered by the people of the region itself. What would an ordinary Kenyan, a politician Kenyan, a businessman Kenyan, a Kenyan in public service would say today about the improvement of relations and working together towards integration of the IGAD region? What would Sudan say? What would South Sudan say? What would Djibouti and Somalia say about it? It's illusion. He's entertaining illusion. Truly entertaining illusion. The region is in chaos. The region is in chaos. And Ethiopia is isolated now, including in the region. Nobody trusts the credibility that established for the last 27 years was simply let it vanish. Why? Because that did not fit the thinking of Abiy. That would not help Abiy build his personal ego and fame. For him, the easy is what is in it for him in person, not for Ethiopia, not for the region, not for any other reason.
Dr. Abiy is praised by some quarters for breaking the stalemate between Ethiopia and Eritrea, and you've been very critical of his approach on the issue. What is the basis of your criticism?
Let me start from yourself. Do you know what the content of that agreement is? Have you come across any? I'm sorry to put it straight to you, but I just want to make it clear to everybody.
Many people complain that they have no
No
inkling.
one knows what the conclusion of those honeymoon have been so. The world has seen them signing documents in Abu Dhabi or in Riyadh, but no one has released the contents of this agreement. We don't know. It's only clear to Isaias and Abiy, not even to the Foreign Ministry of Ethiopia, not even to the Foreign Ministry of Eritrea. They don't know it. To me, there is nothing, no beef in that agreement that one can see. Secondly, look to what the situation of today between Eritrea and Ethiopia is. Yes, honeymoon trips are made by Isaias and Abiy exchanging visits to the capitals, but is there free movement of goods, free movement of people? Are the borders open? Have we freed the border areas from militarization? Eritrean troops are still on the trenches, 1,000 kilometers border. Ethiopian troops are still there. So what's the difference between the no peace, no war time and now? Now I can see only the honeymoon and love affair between the two leaders. There is nothing coming out to say that Ethiopia and Eritrea are benefiting. There is a dividend of peace. Where? No one can see it. There is no dividend of peace. And it's almost now 2 years or over since this agreement was said. That's why he got a Nobel Prize in Norway under the belief that he has achieved a breakthrough in negotiating peace and normalization relations between Eritrea and Ethiopia. I'm sure many of those who decided for that are regretting it by now because they know who Abiy is today.
So if it's not benefiting the two peoples, is it benefiting the two leaders, and in what way?
What unifies Isaias and Abiy is the issue. I think those who are following the behavioral and conducts of the two leaders, it's easy for them. It doesn't need to be a psychologist or a psychiatrist to know what unified the two. They are deeply in love with themselves. To them, each of them, they are the state, they are the people, they are the government, they are the army, they are everything. Same is for Abiy, same is for Isaias. And they have created a common enemy, and they say, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. That's why they declared that they have to cleanse the legacy of the PRDF, and in particular that of the Wayane, the TPLF. This is the love affair about. They say they will complete it, cleansing the legacy in 6 months since they launched the honeymoon. They have not achieved it, and they will never achieve it. They will never achieve it. Because the legacy of EPRDF is in the mind of millions, tens of millions of Ethiopian people.
Coming back to the Nobel Peace Prize, is it living up to the prize, the honor and the expectations that it comes with?
Well, let those who staged that drama respond to that. But the Ethiopian people, the observers, are saying that he is not worth for this standing. And those who awarded him have made wrong decisions. And there is a call by huge demonstrations, including in Norway, standing in front of that huge edifice, demanding that they should reverse this decision, that they should take away this from Abiy, that he doesn't worth it. Rather, it discredited them. And now the international community, those who have been moved by Abiy at the beginning, are saying they celebrated him too quickly and without a rational thinking, and that they are reversing their policies towards him. And this is what happened.
Dr. Abiy had appointed you as his special envoy some time back. How did it play out, and was there any fallout with him, and how, why?
No, he didn't appoint me as the special envoy of Abiy, no. But I was in the Prime Minister office. I was appointed as the envoy for Middle East by his predecessor, not by Abiy. His predecessor, Haile Mariam. I was recalled from my accreditation to Asia, China, and other countries. I was happily back home. And soon after my return, I sat with Haile Mariam. He offered me this. I said no, because I had a desire to live public life, not to serve in any government office. That I had other plans to continue still building the legacy of EPRDF, in serving in research, in demonstrating a true think tank, which I was allowed when I left the high offices of EPRDF and the government. So I said, I don't need any name or title to serve my country. So if he wants me to go and do some services in the Middle East or representing Ethiopia in other missions, I will do it without any title. But he insisted on one account, which I also believed.
Who insisted?
That was Yemen, the issue of Yemen. Yemen was still in chaos, as we all know. It is in deep crisis, in civil war. The loss of Yemen has been a loss to all of us in the region, or enhanced the region. We had the Sana'a Forum, which brought Yemen and the Horn of Africa, many countries together. So Haile Mariam was of the opinion that Ethiopia should get involved in supporting the Yemen negotiations and so on and so forth. And that the UN system had also put that request to Ethiopia, and that there was a plan for the UN, including to bring the negotiations to Addis Ababa. Some of the Yemeni fighting parties also mentioned personalities from Ethiopia, including myself, to get involved. That was the reason. The reason behind my appointment as the envoy of Ethiopia to the Middle East. Then yes, Abiy came in early April or March Ethiopian calendar. Then I was there until the autumn, September, October. And he knew that I was not visiting the office at all. But from time to time, I have been meeting him, and in fact, I have mentioned it somewhere, sometime. Abiy gave me a written and signed letter to hand it over to Burundi. I was leading an envoy to Burundi, and that was connected with GERD. But this was before his visit to Egypt. Once he visited Egypt, he changed his mind, and I didn't undertake that mission. That was the end. That's how it.
Very recently, things have turned messy, and the federal government said just a few days back that it will sever relations with the government of Tigray, and prior to that, also the newly elected government of Tigray said it will not recognize an illegal government. So how are things going so far, and what will be the relations from now on?
It's a big joke in the modern history of Ethiopia, because the Ethiopian people know, the world at large know, those who are closely following the development of events in Ethiopia know who is delegitimizing who. If Ethiopia is governed by constitution, the supreme law of the land, the constitution has made it clear, not only for the rest of the Ethiopians, but including for Abiy himself, including for his party. I may recite you one of the articles in the Constitution, fundamental in the chapter, fundamental principles of the Constitution, where you have the Article 9, sub-article 3. It clearly stipulates saying that it is forbidden to assume state power in any manner, other than that is provided under the Constitution, in any manner, including in the fiasco drama he conducted of interpretation of constitutional provisions. That was a fiasco, because interpretation of articles in a constitution can emanate only when there is a dispute in courts, dispute between parties, and when it is led to court, and that the court brings it to the House of Federation. That was a fiasco. He nullified the Constitution and prolonged the term of his government unconstitutionally and illegally. Be that as it may. But again, the Constitution limits the term only for 5 years. It's only through election that state power is assumed. He again indefinitely, rather I would say, cancelled the election under the pretext of the coronavirus pandemic. The TPLF, the government of Tigray, understood and worked to abide by the letter and spirit of the Constitution. And in all transparency and accountability, the election that took place in Tigray was remarkable. Remarkable. More than 98% of those eligible to vote voted for it, participated in it in a more transparent, fair way. And now, if at all there is legitimate government under the Constitution of Ethiopia, under the supreme law of Ethiopia, it's only the government of the national regional state of Tigray. If there is any legitimate party to be in government, it's only the TPLF. Because TPLF overwhelmingly won this election. So TPLF is legitimate party, and the TPLF established government of the national regional state of Tigray under the presidency of Dr. Debretsion is legitimate under the Ethiopian constitution. Under the Ethiopian constitution, who is not legitimate is the establishment in Addis Ababa. The elected, formerly elected institutions are illegitimate. They have expired. Abiy has no place now. So decisions made by Abiy or the executive body, decisions made by the houses, the House of Representation, of the representatives of the people, and the House of Federation. They have expired, and they cannot delegitimize a legitimately elected government and party, and by legitimating themselves, while the whole world knows that their term has been completed, expired. That's why I say this is a big joke in a modern history of Ethiopia. They may entertain that they are leading a government, a state in Ethiopia today. But definitely sooner or later, they will be accountable to it.
Their actions, their decisions will nonetheless affect the people because they are wielding power, they have the military.
They are irrelevant. Definitely, they can declare and resort to force, but then the Ethiopian people will see it, and will see the response. So this is a joke, and it is truly shameful to play this drama and theatrical process as leaders of Ethiopia of 115 million nation. This is a credible nation. This is an edifice in the family of nations. There is no joke. And that they cannot simply wish it away. They have to be accountable to their action.
The coalition of Ethiopian Federalist Forces and also the newly elected government of Tigray have been calling for national dialogue, an all-inclusive national dialogue, and also the formation of a caretaker government. The establishment in Addis doesn't seem to accept this, so far at least. What will happen if the team in Addis, the establishment in Addis, persists in its position? What will be the way forward?
Well, the writings are clear on the wall. What would happen to the country? They would leave the country to go into the perils. The downward spiral of Ethiopia would end up definitely in a very, very tragic, historic situation. The call on peace and national salvation by the federalist forces is reverberating throughout the country among different parties, different groups, stakeholders in the country. It's also reverberating all across the globe where Ethiopia had its partners. Everybody is calling for inclusive dialogue and for a transitional arrangement. Those who have been sentimentally and emotionally, for whatever reasons, have been backing Abiy are now backtracking and reconsidering their position and are telling Abiy, no. They are telling him, first you build consensus, bring all stakeholders together, allow that process to take place, release all political prisoners you have incarcerated under any pretext. So it would be a joke to call for an election after putting major political party leaders and activists behind bars. This cannot take place in Ethiopia. No, we shall not allow that. And Abiy doesn't appear to heed this call, a call from the Ethiopian people, a call from all stakeholders in the country, and a call from Ethiopian partners. If he doesn't heed, no one would ask him now to release those prisoners, because where is he? He's illegitimate. He's not. No one would put these demands in front of the Abiy group now. Look what those who are in prison are seeking, what the Court of Justice, if at all there is justice, to be delivered. What they are putting their demands in front of the court, because the institution or the party or the executive body that opened this case against them in the courts does not anymore have any legitimacy. They are demanding for the court to release them, to close their file. And that's what is the politics of Ethiopia today. So Abiy will not hit definitely, because that would not augur his interest. That would not serve his group interest. That would not serving him to be the seventh emperor of Ethiopia. So he would not buy it. That's where we stand. And that's why with your first question I said that I'm not sure whether what Abiy is doing he knows the consequences of what he is doing.
You and the PRF have been opposed to this idea of a transitional government before. Why support it now?
Because the context is completely different. To call for a transitional government while there was a legitimately elected government does not make any sense. Those adversaries, extremists, have been calling on the APRDF to establish a transitional government because they say they don't recognize the government of the APRDF. But who gives legitimacy? Is it the people or the adversaries of political parties? The legitimacy of the APRDF was ensured by successive elections conducted in the country. We have had our election in 1993 Ethiopian calendar, or the year 2000, in the middle of the war, when we were at war with Eritrea. We didn't postpone. We had enough grounds to postpone. We didn't postpone. We debated it at the executive level of the party, that the constitution does not allow postponement of elections. So while our army was fighting the aggression of Isaias, our people had their election in 1993 May. I'm trying to indicate that elected government has been there, and you don't call for a transitional government when you have elected government. But today, the elected institutions have expired, finished their terms. It's only rational to call now for a transitional arrangement, for dialogue, for consultation among and between the stakeholders, representatives of all sectors of the politics, the civic society, including the people and the regions. If we want to see Ethiopia continue as a common umbrella for all its citizens and communities, nations and nationalities, this is a must. I don't think there is any other way that would better serve Ethiopia's interest today.
The same call for peace and national salvation of the coalition of federalist forces, Ethiopian federalist forces, also calls for the withdrawal of external forces, and particularly Eritrean troops. Are there Eritrean troops here, security forces in Ethiopia? And why is this happening while the Ethiopian Defense Force are here? What are they doing?
Probably that was one point which I missed to mention in your previous question on Abiy's acts bordering treason. This is one of those clear empirical facts that could show what Abiy is doing with the sovereignty of the country. It's not only sending troops from the federal government or recruits from the federal government and the Amhara region to get trained in Eritrea. A big number of them are being trained in Eritrea. But Eritrean security forces are also inside Ethiopia, intervening in the internal affairs of Ethiopia. Abiy has allowed this for Isaias to rape Ethiopia under the guise of cooperation. And they are not with Eritrean uniforms. They are wearing the Ethiopian uniforms, disguised. And this is very, very dangerous. It compromises the sovereignty of the country. It allows Isaias to have a free hand. Isaias is a partner to Abiy in the cleansing of the legacy of TPLF, the legacy of EPRDF. This does not concern him. And to do so, he has sent his security forces to be stationed inside Ethiopia, not only in Addis, including in other quarters, and to secretly operate, supporting Abiy. This is dangerous. This will create havoc in the region. Now, this call should not be taken lightly because we are at the recipient end. The Ethiopians are at the recipient end. And let Isaias and Abiy make no mistake that the Ethiopian people would not be observing from a sideline when Isaias and Abiy are creating havoc and initiating civil war in Ethiopia. Unless Isaias has ulterior motives to see Ethiopia ending in chaos and balkanization. He can't. So that's a fact. That's a fact that no one can deny it. But the most fascinating thing is Isaias has one group of security cooperating with Abiy, and some even hidden from the official cooperation he has got with Abiy, working under the guise of the embassy and so on and so forth, and trying to do separate activities with other stakeholders. They have Izama that may not be in full seeing eye to eye on all issues with Abiy, but who have been being supported by Isaias for almost 10 years or so. So then he's working on multi-dimensional front where that is dangerous for the country. The early removal of these actors is a must, because it will complicate rather the whole situation of the country.
Abiy had repeatedly said that Ethiopia will not be dismembered, will not be dismantled unless he or his team is dismembered. What do you say to that?
He still considers himself as the guardian of Ethiopian unity. But writers and historians have tried to analyze this, why he's saying it and what he's doing. It's clear that they are saying now Abiy is suffering from the syndrome of the Menelik era, denying science, denying the empirical facts on the ground. Ethiopia is at a very, very sensitive time of its history. Denying reality will not help Ethiopia hold together. It is recognizing the reality and addressing the challenges that will help Ethiopia hold together. No amount of fiasco statements from Abiy is going to serve Ethiopia down the road. The only reality and fact that can save Ethiopia today and tomorrow is the inclusive dialogue and the establishment of the transitional arrangement. The naming of the transitional arrangement is irrelevant, whether you call it caretaker or transitional or any other name. But the idea is too many political parties and to squabble for a seat among the political parties, that can be avoided by establishing a technocratic government for the transition. A technocratic that has no influence and membership or would only be serving the country for that term without any allegiance to any of the political parties. And their representation would definitely be a mirror image of the society of Ethiopia itself. But they must be professionals and loyal to the country. I think this is the only solution. Then we'll have the dialogue that has to come up truly with a clear political solution on what type of Ethiopia do we want to see. Who are those the spouses of sentiments of Ethiopianism? There are no guardians for it. All Ethiopians equally are concerned about the fate of their country. If so, what type of Ethiopia do we want to see? Where genuine setup of institutions that would allow all its communities, nations, nationalities, people, big or small, live in the country in harmony with their rights, safeguarded and ensured by the supreme law of the land, the Constitution, without which no amount of settlement, no amount of beating war drums or intimidation is going to work and save the country. It is only scientific and empirical facts recognizing this, that, and addressing the challenges in crafting institutions that would cater the interest of all Ethiopians, big and small, that can assist Ethiopia to hold together. And we don't have much time. We don't have much time. As time proceeds with this chaos, the dangers of the country's collapse, the state collapse, is unavoidable. We must run against time. We don't have that luxury. And Abiy is playing with fire. Abiy's group is playing with fire. There was a debate within the various parties who are for the dialogue, whether Abiy and Prosperity Party should be part of this dialogue or not. By Abiy not heeding this call, now he has made himself and his party irrelevant. They are irrelevant now. I'm not sure what the forum of the dialogue would conclude on the role of Abiy and his party. Would they play a positive role? Let alone for them to lead an election, a government, and so on, after expiring their term, after allowing themselves to be irrelevant and illegitimate. But Ethiopia needs this dialogue. And all political parties, all stakeholders understand that this is not a dialogue that could come at any time. It should come at the earliest possible time if we want to see Ethiopia holding together, if we want to see Ethiopia serving as an umbrella for everyone.
Is it possible to reach such kind of consensus given the different interests, the historical and also political polarizations currently?
the constitution, the supreme land of Ethiopia, guarantees the right to self-determination of all nations and nationalities of Ethiopia. So TPLF and Tigray would not go around the bush if they think that the only option for them remaining now is to invoke that, they will do it. But I don't believe that is now the agenda of the people of Tigray, their government, and their party, the ruling party. We're still hoping that there will be a chance to face the challenges with utmost responsibility. We need this great nation. We know the advantages of a big nation, a big economy, a big market, a big security, of international stature, of at home. Who denies this? We need it. On condition that second-class citizenship should come to an end, and where no one would interfere in the affairs of the different activities of the different nations. Full sovereignty of these people is the sovereignty of the country. Sovereignty is not what you profess it in the air. It does not hang in the air. It is inherently built in these people. The sovereignty belongs to these people. That's how we can protect and save the sovereignty of Ethiopia. That's how we can hold Ethiopia together. No any other solution, no any other sentiment is going to save us from that.
So clearly you have a different view from those who say that Ethiopia's unity, Ethiopia's future is irreparably damaged, and that we are a divided society with no hope for a united future, a shared future.
I cannot afford that pessimism. Responsible citizens, responsible parties, responsible people need to try, and it's possible to reverse this process of what is going on today in Ethiopia. But I still say that we don't have much time remaining. We need to rush against time, because that if we allow the negative forces to play, then definitely the course could be different. It could be a different end that we don't want to see. And the main responsible groups would be those who are denying for this forum to take place. And they have to realize that they are not serving the interest of Ethiopia, but destroying the interest of Ethiopia and the Ethiopians.
And this is my last question. The international community was very silent for a long time, although Ethiopia was immersing into chaos. But now some quarters have started to voice their concerns and they are pushing for dialogue. Is there any change of policy among some quarters of the international community towards Dr. Abiy?
I guess it is beginning, and seriously beginning. The honeymoon is over. The honeymoon is over. Including those who have been working as activists, external activists, to see him in power, are now seriously considering that he has failed them. He has failed Ethiopia. It's not only in the United States or in Europe, but everywhere that people are raising that they have been cheated. They have been so hastily supported this guy that they have been mischieved, that they don't see any serious drive in this person, that he has missed the opportunity, and he is nowhere now to bring back Ethiopia to where it was, let alone to lead Ethiopia into further development and transformation.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Seyoum Mesfin, for taking the time to give us these elaborate and very insightful reflections.